I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. Today I'm going to be talking about the teapot theory. And if any one of us has ever used a stovetop teapot, the kind of teapot you fill up with water, you heat it on the stove, and when the water is really hot, it whistles. And that means the water is ready. So I want to talk about us in comparison to the teapot. So what happens when you allow things to build up and to heat up in your life, and you hold on to things? You resemble the teapot. And if you don't release it in the manner it was meant to be released, you eventually let it out, but in a screaming sort of way. And I'm talking about how, and I think this happens more with men than women in my experience, because women, we have friends and we talk to people. And my husband pointed out recently that he notices when him and I go to a store, one of the clerks will end up talking to me, and they will end up sharing some very personal information or some information about their life, which is really heavy. Met a clerk at local Walmart recently who confided in my husband and myself that recently, the reason he has to wear a mask is because his dad's at high risk, because his dad recently was diagnosed with cancer and second bout of cancer. And he talked with us about that. And my husband, he's a very wonderful person. And he allowed this young man to give us some of his burden. And in that case, can you imagine someone that's carrying this kind of a burden, or any kind of a burden, that isn't allowed to outlet? I can imagine in my own life, when I've held on to things, I've become the teapot, and all of a sudden, when I hold it in too long and I don't talk, and the next thing you know, it comes out in more of a screaming manner. And I used to be that way, and I used to hold on to things. And years ago, after my trauma, I didn't go to therapy. So a lot of times I kept quiet, I let things build up, and then I exploded. And I remember my daughters told me at one time, my oldest daughter left, and then she came back and she says, sometimes you scream. And I can admit there are times I did, and there are times, I'm sure, when I was scary, and I didn't mean to be scary, but I held on to things instead of having a creative outlet or a positive outlet. Or after a while, I had a therapist and someone I could talk to and confide in and release things to. But what happens in your life when you're going through trials and traumas, or you're struggling, and all you do is you have what we call our happy face, a pleasant face, the kind of face that doesn't really show that we're struggling. And a lot of times we wear a mask that says, oh, I'm okay. And people will ask, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Life is good. And on the inside, you're really just crying and struggling, and you just want to break down and say, I'm having a really shitty day. But we don't do that because we don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. So what do? Instead, we let it build up, and we then let it out, and let it out towards people we love and people that we know will not leave us. And if we don't get a hold of it, they will leave us, and they'll say, I can't be around these types of explosions anymore. So all I know is that I don't want to be the teapot. I would rather, the minute I know something's building up, is to turn the fire off, release that pressure, which means I have to take care of myself. I have to go work out. I have to talk to a friend. I have to release it, whether I go to professional therapy or I go to a group on Facebook and say, I'm struggling today. I'm really hurting. Can you guys pray for me? Can you keep me in your thoughts? And we have to release it. because the last thing you want to do is a lot of times when we hold on to things and we aren't dealing with certain things, is it manifests itself outward. I've talked about this before. The things we hold inside manifest outward, and we end up having health problems. And I already deal with certain types of pain. But the last thing I need is to deal with more pain when I can just release and give myself a break from it. So that's all I wanted to say, is the teapot theory is not necessary. Find someone you can outlet with. I talk to my husband. We talk every day, and he's my sounding board, and I'm so lucky to have him. So find someone that makes your life better. Find someone you trust that you can talk to, that can be impartial, and just allow, just listen. Sometimes you don't need feedback, and you say, I just want to tell you what happened today. I don't worry about feedback or giving me advice. I'm just letting you know I struggled today, and that's all there is to it. So that's what I wanted to talk about, was the teapot theory. Please release your pressures, your stresses, I could say stressors, your anxiety, your fear, your sadness, anything. Just find someone to release it to. And in turn, when someone else needs you and they need to release, they should be able to count on you as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I hope everyone is having a really good day, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.